Back. It's time for Opinion Court. Get in touch with us. If you're using the hashtag, it's Opinion Court, one word. You can use it on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And of course, we'll be looking out for your feedback. If you're on SMS, 22422 is our SMS line. And we'd love to hear from you on that platform as well. I'd like to introduce my guest to you. To our immediate right, of course, is Edward Siangani. He's our resident analyst on Opinion Court. And to our left, we love to brawl with him once in a while. Haman Manyora, Prof. 2, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So, let's start with the house on the so-called hill, State House. And this week we saw President Uhuru Kenyatta make various changes to his team at different levels. There was everything from changes involving his top security detail and aides to the previous week cabinet secretaries and other State House positions. This, even as sources tell Opinion Court, of a growing chasm at State House between those allied to the president and those who are allied to the deputy president. And whilst others have not seen the axe just yet, they are being increasingly sidelined, we hear, by the president. So tonight on Opinion Court, it's all about the politics surrounding 2022 and what it has meant in terms of changes at State House. Prof, what do you think? Has it gone far enough?
No, it hasn't gone far enough, but it is playing to the script which we talked about almost 4 years ago. The prince doesn't like, when the prince is still holding power, doesn't want to be reminded that it's me who will take over from you. That reminder irritates the prince. And you know, and people don't people don't respect knowledge in this country, and the politicians don't respect knowledge, and that's why they are in trouble. So when you talk about this thing, they will say you are an armchair or table chair philosopher. But what you see here is this: the prince is very uncomfortable with the factions within the house on the hill, whose only job is to fight each other over 2022. So he's trying to construct a team that resonates well with his four-way agenda, because that is what is worrying Kenyatta more than 2022. He wants to leave the country in a particular state, and he doesn't want his officials to waste time discussing who will take power in 2022. I think the president thinks that what is the value of somebody talking about 2022, and by 2022 healthcare is in a mess, corruption has not been and fight against corruption is zero, and then we don't have food security. Which sort of country will be he leaving behind? So he wants a team that communicates his message, and that's why those changes are there. He also wants a team that sends the correct messages to the people about what government wants to do now, and not what it will do about 2022. Time for politics over. And I think you can see, even on one hand, very interestingly, Anne, he seems now also to be moving away from this tag that maybe when the president comes from a particular community, then they have to choose people from their own community. The appointment of Councillor Dena is one, because he's replaced a person who doesn't come from the community of the president. And then, of course, even the aide Kam, who has just come in now, doesn't come from the president's community, like all. So it is resonating with the fact that the president wants to bring about cohesion and national integration. And on this show, we talked and we said that in terms of fighting for corruption, against corruption, in terms of bringing national cohesion, I think the president is almost alone. In State House, I think probably he doesn't have very many officials. So slowly and slowly, he's bringing in men and women he thinks can join him in this lonely job of doing things that some of the people he works with in Jubilee don't like. But
you know, does it go far enough? If one was to talk about what the things that appear wrong or have appeared wrong over the last few years at State House, I mean, has he targeted the right people?
Of course not. He will need to do a lot more than that on all fronts, whether it is his game plan, whether it is corruption. It's just he's barely scratched the surface, if you may ask me. But to comment on what the president is doing. I think there are two things. One, every leader who is leaving office because of this two-term arrangement, whatever term arrangement they are, always wants to have a say in who succeeds him. Even in America, Obama and the rest of these people, they always want to have a say. And in order for you to actualize that say, you will make a number of moves. And therefore, some of the changes we are seeing are in line with that kind of thinking. Secondly, if you are doing your last term, if you are not careful, and this, people must understand the president, it doesn't really have to be about 2022. But just doing your last term, if you are not careful, you will become a lame duck president in your first year of office. People see you as exiting. And if you are not careful and if you don't make certain moves and certain changes, then somebody, the center of power will drift. You know, human nature. They will drift. You see?
The drifters.
They drift to somebody else because they see you as living. It normally happens when you have 2 or so years to go. But if you are not careful, it can start this early. And therefore, that's how I see these changes and many other moves he's making. Except, like you asked me, are they enough? Definitely not. I mean,
but you know, at least according to one newspaper report, they're saying this is, you know, the end of it. This is as far as it has gone, and that may be quite presumptive on the part of the press. But having said that, I mean, would it be only as far as he can go? Because I mean, people who've been there know things, and as Moses Wetangula once told us, divorce can be messy, ugly, loud, with casualties.
I think the clearest poorly kept secret, which now we are seeing, is that there is a little problem between the president and his deputy. The problem is on how to deal with our country's problems. The president thinks we should do a lot about certain things he has set in place, namely food security, health, and so on. But his deputy, I think, wants that to be fabricated into a body politic that says, as we do this, you must also be helping me to become an automatic heir to this throne, which the president seems to have a problem with. I am persuaded that up to this point that we're talking, the president is not sure whether he should throw his weight behind anybody, including his deputy. So, and yet people are saying this support must come right now, and he looks like he's being intimidated. He might also have his own ideas about 2022. So therefore, what is likely to happen if things continue like this, the final axe will finally fall. He might do more undertake more changes at State House, but State House is just one section of things that I can do. There are still people outside the State House who are very powerful in this government, and they try to use State House to pursue their goals. So as he hits the State House, he's likely to hit other people who have not been so far hit, but probably in cabinet or in government parastatus, who do not toe the line of the four-way agenda, but are only interested in promoting the agenda of 2022. So he's likely to hit, and the people who might become casualties in this are the deputy president's allies. It's looking likely that they could probably be hit, because you have seen when certain changes are made, comments coming from people perceived to be allies of the deputy president have not been extremely, particularly positive to the message that the president is passing. So it's now becoming common knowledge in this republic that there is a little problem, there is some stench existing between the president and the deputy. It may not be too bad a stench that you cannot bear with it, but by 2019, 2020, the stench could be unbearable. And when it's unbearable, the president probably will say enough is enough. And that is the direction we are going.
But at a time like this, Manyora, and especially bearing in mind what you've said, that you could become, you know, in a two-term kind of arrangement, then you could become a lame duck president, you know, in year one, immediately after you get your second term. Assuming that there are no constitutional changes afoot that could perhaps redraw how we think of, you know, the main structure of government, constitutional terms and things like that, in a scenario like this, is it better to be feared or loved?
You know, they say you
Because if it's about being loved, then you're thinking about legacy.
There must be a measure of each, and therefore you must use both. If the president were to go all out, to do tough things, to make tough decisions, and sack ministers that obviously attract sacking, and who are more likely than not, like he says, to be coming from the Ruto side, there could also be consequences. There could be consequences. But again, if you are too cozy with these people and they have their way, like I've said before, then they could easily edge you out. In the minds of the people, they will begin to see Ruto as the president and not Uhuru. The power with Ruto and not with Uhuru. So it's a question of balancing. You have to balance when to be tough and sack a few people. You have also to be careful as you do it, because look here. If you look at the table now, look on the table. Which names are you seeing on the table? Drawn in this corruption web. Most of them are Kalenjin. Most of them are Ruto, if you wish. Now, if you are to sweep them off, there are consequences. So the president has to do a very serious balancing act.
The consequences are? The consequences
The consequences, according to me, see, in politics, you never underrate anybody in politics. Don't think everybody is happy with the handshake, even from the Raila side. And they could make, you see, if somebody wants
an unlikely alliance?
Yeah, in politics, those things happen. People see a chance to do something they would never have done. They could even start Raila and work with Ruto. It's possible. In any case, they don't really have to win. Certain moves can be of nuisance value. You get it? If somebody were to want to impeach you and has like 100 MPs, you won't be impeached. But it has nuisance value.
It has, yeah.
No government, no president wants an impeachment motion brought in his way. So you need to balance.
But Ahman,
and an outcry before you say, even the kind of outcry that will greet that kind of move for political stability, I don't think you'll need it.
You know, Ahman, what you have said is zero, because you cannot.
Say one or
it's
two.
not even one. It is zero.
You see,
you're a mean teacher.
You know very well that this thing in politics, the story of balancing is trash. And you know much more than I do. You are my elder.
Yes.
You cannot. We are not talking about factorization or quadratic equations.
Yes.
We are talking about politics, the game of politics. And in the game of politics, you must be a fox, but also a lion.
That's true. That's what we
And
say.
you must be, it's better to be feared than to be loved.
Yes.
And you know the authorities, 5 centuries back from here,
Yeah, I know.
nobody has disapproved that principle of politics.
And currently, do we fear? Currently, do we fear the president, or do we love him?
No, not for us.
No, I mean in your own understanding of how he's played the game.
Now, the way that some people, the president has started playing the game, he's becoming a lion. But but before that, the president was a fox. And I can tell you why the president was a fox. Most of the messages that were sent out in his first term, sent out to possible allies of the deputy president, bad messages were sent by the deputy president. Let me give you one example which looked innocuous. In one meeting in Baringo, the deputy president actually blamed the voters in Baringo for having voted in. No, he didn't blame the voters. He praised them for voting for Jubilee, even when their governor was tangering with the Aluya.
Yes.
I'm just being specific. Yes. And when he said that, Mudamat reacted very badly. He was on a trip abroad, and then he reacted very badly. Now, the whole term between 2013 and 2017, such incidents of bad messaging and arrogance came from the deputy president's side. The President Kenyatta didn't do that. So right now, he knows if he hits at some of those allies now demanding change and demanding certain goods and services, the deputy president will have less what? Less support from the same sources. So therefore, he was a fox between 2013 and 2017. He has become a lion from 2018.
But listen to this, Manyora, you talked about some of the stuff we've been seeing around corruption and who's been targeting. Listen to what some legislators had to say about changes at Kenya Power.
Very clear that the arrests that are being done, particularly targeted to particular individuals who seem to be leaning to a particular side. All this, in the fullness of time, you will realize was just about 2022.
You know, we see some mischief in this one, and that's why we are saying, let us all fight against corruption. Let us not have secret cows. There were people who were mentioned in NYS saga long time ago, season 1, and they are free.
Kwa Keter, nataka kusema yale matamshi ya Keter, kwa nini yeye ajiuzulu? Ajiuzulu kwa sababu amesema tu eti kwamba watu walishikwa vibaya? Hapana.
Okay, and of course he's talking about some of the comments that the Energy Secretary made, very displeased with losing that team.
Yes.
Now, at the same time, remember that there has been an ongoing battle in court, and a lot of the reportage around this issue has been that, you know, Apollo Mboya has been vindicated with his revelations. So, vindication on the one hand, that there was perhaps, you know, issues at Kenya Power. On the other side, MP saying that this is clearly about politics.
You see now, from what that clip we have just played, it is consistent with the people that are deemed to be allied to the deputy president. They are attacking the president. Because you remember the sugar saga, one of the purported ally said, you know what, the president's brother, the reason why you are not taking action, you have seen the question of sacred cows. The reason why you are not taking action is because there's a company owned by the president's brother which imported sugar, the mercury sugar. Now, then the president quickly answered and said, look, if my brother is involved in this, the law must take its course. Now, now, when you attack the prince, and that is the major problem in the deputy president's camp, he must manage his troops not to look like they are fighting a sitting president. Now, in this case, the arrest of this team, you have seen the reaction from CS Keter and others now saying it's about 2022. And they're saying they are sacred cows. You can almost suddenly say, she has said one person in one NYS was not done this and this. They are talking about Uhuru. They are attacking a certain section of the community. So when they do that, the president is put in a corner where he has to fight back, because now these are attacks on him and some members of this community. So if we reach that point, that is the stage I'm talking about, which is building. Kenya Power, they are not talking about corruption. They think they're being targeted, and they were probably appointed on the recommendation of one person that they know, and once they are weakened, that person cannot take power.
But isn't it more than that? The problem in the messaging, if you like, particularly from the deputy president's camp, is not that there is no corruption here. It's that why fight just one side instead of fighting all of it? Because really the point should be none of you should be corrupt, surely. You know, shouldn't it?
That's what I was saying, and this guy was so mean, he gave me 0. At least
I will give you some.
Now you're giving 1.
What I meant was this.
We have CS before you say I want to help you, you can get one more mark.
Okay,
but what you need to know,
yes,
if you talk about one side,
yes,
I don't know what you mean, because a couple of people from other communities who have been implicated in corruption, if you look at that list of Kenya Power, it is not exactly from one community. Then secondly, if you look at the fact that even in the recent past, we have had people like CS Kamau, former CS Kamau, being arraigned in court. In fact, he was also arrested in a similar way.
The PS.
The PS, I think Rhodes, isn't it? And many years back, the case had rested, but it has been resurrected. So if you look at that, can you say that a particular community is being targeted?
But I'm saying that
not community. I think we're talking about supporters at this point.
The impression that the whole thing is creating, and if you look at the names and so on and so forth, is that it appears that the URP wing of Jubilee is more involved in this corruption. What I meant was, by consequences,
allegedly.
I meant, like, you see, what Patton said once, people who live in glass houses
should not throw
stones. You see, this country, everybody's corrupt. I've said before, you cannot be
including yourself.
Yeah, you
Not
cannot, all of us,
corrupt. No.
except for Anne.
Yes, I am
You
not.
cannot
I'm not corrupt.
you cannot be rich in this country unless you have stolen. That's what I've said. Really rich, a billionaire, and so on and so forth. These people, they know themselves, and they know they have all stolen. Now, if you push one side so much, then you know the consequences I'm talking about. It can get ugly, and the president will not want it to get ugly. You yourself have mentioned that
Why? What does he have to lose?
That Muhoho name springing up from nowhere. I don't think the president will want that situation where these people are pushed to bring out a lot more from his cupboard.
No, but if you have a confrontation with the chief executive,
Yes.
history has taught us that even those who took on Napoleon or anybody else,
Yes.
if you take on the chief executive who has the instruments of power,
Yeah.
you must win.
But I must ask this, because
Yes,
you said the
ask.
president will not want it to get
Yeah.
ugly. And I asked you why. Why wouldn't, I mean, what does he have to lose, especially, you know, in the last few years of his presidency, and knowing what corruption has done to the republic, that it does threaten his legacy? Why would he not say, come on, Imbaya, Imbaya, I mean, just clear it, let's just deal with it? And should that not also be the point of what he is doing?
That will be okay if you are operating from a very clean platform yourself. Assuming there's nothing near you, nobody close to you, not your brother, not your whoever it is, not yourself. If you are so sure you are, like Raila says, he's as clean as pamba or snow or cotton. If you are sure, then you can make the kind of moves we are talking about. But to the extent that that may not be possible, there will be people around you, or even you yourself, with one or two dots around you, some black spots, then you will be very careful as you make these moves. That's all I'm saying. You cannot
are you saying that if you are a doctor,
you have to remove the tumor?
let me ask you,
Yes.
doctors treat people, but that doesn't mean that doctors cannot fall sick.
Yes.
So for you to argue that that because the doctor, but that because the president could also be having some friends around him, which I don't deny there must be,
Yes.
who probably have even used his name wrongly, and then they have been corrupt, and so he should balance things. The president has made a decision that we must break with the past.
Edward, you don't seem to understand what I'm saying. This, you are living in a house and it is dirty, it's infested with rats and all manner of things, mice, bed bugs and what, and a few snakes in between under the bed.
Keep the friendly snakes.
You know,
saying.
you can choose to burn the house if you wish, with yourself inside, if you want. That's okay.
Once you decide to burn the house,
Then burn with
you walk
yourself
out.
inside.
No, you walk out of the house.
They'll pull you in.
Throw the match
They'll pull
and
you
have
in.
a heroic
But
walkout.
I was asking, what does the president lose? He cannot burn himself.
The guys will pull you in.
He has decided that we must break with the past.
Yes.
But he doesn't have a lot of supporters within his team. But you can see, look at the reactions about what CS Charles Kateri said and these arrests at Kenya Power. The reactions on the media is shocking. People are extremely outraged that anybody else will want to moralize over how arrests are made when Kenya is losing money. So what the president knows, he knows that the majority of people in this country support his agenda. And since they are
There's no doubt about that.
There's no doubt. So since they are the voters, first of all, let me tell you this, because we have been avoiding it. 2022, whoever becomes the president, Uhuru will have a say in it.
Correct.
He has the instruments of power.
Yes.
So those who don't support his agenda
Yes.
will lose a bigger chunk
And the
of
voters will have what they-
Uhuru's support. And I think if it's just a normal quarrel, let me tell you, if it's just a normal quarrel
Yes.
between Uhuru and the deputy,
Yes.
that people can rationalize. But if we're talking about corruption
Yes.
and how this country has suffered because of these vices, I don't think voters in 2022 will vote for people who didn't stand up against corruption and who are rationalizing whether or not you are arresting people from my community, so you should balance with another one from another community. That is nonsense. And so that is the point. So who knows he needs the support of Kenyans If today, I don't know where my friend Wolf, Tom Wolf is, but if he now does a pollster about the popularity of the president with regard to for the 4-way agenda,
tomorrow,
he probably will get 80 to 90%. These are the most important people.
Perhaps the president knows one or two things that Edward doesn't know. The president knows that Kenyans don't quite remember how hard you fought. they first remember they are Kikuyu and Luo and Luya and Kamba and the rest. So
that is a stereotype.
That, yeah, you may do very wonderful things, but the politics also politics is important. So what I've been saying here since we started this show is that the president is a politician. Whatever move he makes, he will always use politics as the yardstick. What he uses to measure what steps to take, how far and how many. You get it?
Yes.
It is not that he's a man like Manyora. If you made me president, I have not stolen anybody's shilling. I'm not saying the president has stolen. I'm a poor man. I will clean. I will clean the house. I will burn the house if need be, because I have nothing in that
hold
house.
It by the pillars.
Yes. You don't even look poor.
Yeah, the man does not look poor.
Doesn't look poor.
I'm a poor man. But all these politicians, they have so much at stake. They wouldn't just want to destroy the house.
But let's say this, because we must conclude. And,
yes.
and I hear what you're saying, that, you know, he's a politician. But in his final term, can he be more than that, I suppose, and make decisions based on more than
people
that?
History shows us there are people who have known now they are not facing an election, and they have been tougher, and that's why some of us might support with a bit of amendment a Tory suggestion that we have a one-term presidency, and maybe 7 years or so. Sometimes when people are going out, they are not facing an election. They could have the courage to do things they wouldn't have done if they were facing elections. And that could explain, for those who are giving the president the benefit of doubt, who are saying this is not PR, he's out to fight corruption. People are saying maybe it is because of what Anne is saying. Now that he's not facing an election, he can do those things that will help this country.
But 30 seconds, Prof.
But those who are taking on Kenyatta,
yes,
I think you should join me in this.
Yes.
They take him on like you have seen these MPs and others.
Yes.
There is only one way. They must win the battle.
Or get crushed.
If they lose the battle, politics is brutal.
They'll get crushed.
So I hope they have done their work well, the homework very well. They are listening, and they are sure they must win the battle.
What are you talking about?
Yes, if they don't win the battle,
it's Thursday.
it is everything.
Not
No, we are talking about politics the way it has been practiced.
You're right.
If you take on a sitting president, you must win the battle.
Actually, I agree with you, and I found it a little juvenile for that MP from Maldai to have mentioned Mohoho's name. I thought that was a little too juvenile.
Yes.
So I agree with you.
Yes.
Okay, and that's our time. All is good talking. Lots of good things happening here at Citizen TV and, of course, Royal Media Services. So you want to keep it tuned in the next few days. I'm Ann Kiguta. It's always been a pleasure on Opinion Court, and you can find more politics from me and from Prof. Take a look. Good night.
I woke up this morning with no bread on my table. My woman, whoa.
I'm Ann Kiguta.
Iguza hapa hivi.
Tune into the Hot Drive on Hot 96.
Itakuwa moto sana, ni every Monday to Friday 3 to 7 p.m. It's your design.
I can't hold that much longer. The wicked is getting stronger. And